You're watching Agenda at a time the opposition is protesting against the government for demonetization, and they say this policy against 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes has killed more than 70 people. That's what they're saying, and that's why we see Parliament completely stalled. We'll just be speaking to our guest today on this. Leading the protest has been Trinamool Congress, and we'll be joined by their MP Shogat Roy. Here with me from the BJP, we have PN Vijay, national spokesperson, and also a person who has taken up this case to Supreme Court. We have Kishle Pandey, who is representing one of the people who died, Kanhaiya, who died in Hathras of Uttar Pradesh. He has taken up their case, and now he says he's also been approached by the family of the person who died in Delhi as well. So we'll just speak to our guests about whether these deaths can be directly linked to demonetization, or is it just a terrible tragedy and just been linked to demonetization because of the timing of it all. We'll be speaking to them in just a bit. First, just let's take a look at the numbers and the number of states that it's affected. So Parliament stalled due to the opposition that we are seeing. Our first talking point really is that the Supreme Court petition, and are there any such precedents for the court to get involved in something like this? Mr. Pandey, you are now representing the family. It's terrible tragedy what's happened in Hathras. Whose idea was it? The family decided that they are going to now ask for compensation, and they blame the government directly, because all of the deaths can't really be linked. Some of them didn't happen in the ATM, didn't happen in the queue. Some people say that they were ill and it was stress which caused it. So how are you going to prove your point that this is directly linked to demonetization?
Well, the deceased was 70 years old, senior citizen of the country, and the son of the deceased approached me to fight his case before Honorable Apex Court. My contention would be that it is the decision of the government which created this kiosk, number one. Number two, that the decision of the government compelled us to join the queue right from 3:30 a.m. in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, and this continued for 3 days. Finally, on the third day, he died in the queue due to overexertion. On the spot he died. Thereafter, it is the consequences of the decision of the government, and thereafter the government is liable to pay the monetary compensation for the deceased.
Right. Shogat Roy, I just wanted to point out to you a particular really terrible case, but I wanted to point out to you how it would be difficult to directly link it with demonetization. The case is of Banda, of a 4-year-old girl who died in a private hospital. And her father was the one, he's a daily wage laborer, and he was the one who had been going to the bank every day, to a co-op bank every day for last 3 days to get his money out. Now, the young girl, she was ill. They say that they couldn't pay the hospital soon enough, but it didn't take place in a bank, and yet it's been linked to demonetization. Do you think, how is the opposition, sir, directly linking all these deaths, more than 70 now, directly to demonetization?
No, as you said rightly, that more than 70 people have lost their lives ever since this demonetization began. You just mentioned a 4-year-old girl who could not be given treatment because the family had no money to pay the hospitals. Now, I was reading of a case in which one Shibu Nondi, a Bengal farmer, killed himself after he was unable to pay his farm laborers, since he could not withdraw money from the banks. So these are all directly related to this harebrained scheme of Narendra Modi, where he suddenly, without any preparation, without any pre-thought, decided to demonetize 1,000 and 500 rupee notes, leaving millions of people cashless and stopping all their transactions for buying daily necessities, for paying hospital bills, for buying fertilizer, seeds, etc. So all this is related, and one fears that as this goes on and the situation shows no signs of easing, there will be both deaths and suicides. Some people may have died having suffered heart attacks while standing in the queue. Other people will die either committing suicide or to reasons related to this demonetization and their efforts to get cash from the government approved banks and all. It's in all a terrible situation.
Right, so I'll take that to the BJP. He says very clearly that it may not be in the queue, but you have also a suicide note from the case in Bengal. And I just wanted to point out to our viewers that the maximum cases, sir, have been in Uttar Pradesh. There have been 5 cases in Andhra Pradesh. In Bengal, you have seen 3 or more than that since there, because these are last time's figures. But when you have a suicide note directly blaming the policy, Mr. Vijay, how can you say, and how can the government then distance itself from all these deaths? And it's a significant number.
I don't think we are distancing ourselves. Let's say, first of all, we are all human beings. And when we hear of these unfortunate deaths, we feel sorry. I feel sorry. I'm first a human being and then a BJP spokesperson. But I'd request viewers to look at it in some perspective. And if you don't mind, I'll just give some explanation. Demonetization, we felt, was a very good step. Many other steps we had done in the last 2.5 years, Benami Act, voluntary disclosure, we went after foreign money. Somehow we could not make a dent. And we were feeling that the 40 crore people in India below the poverty line were having a tremendous disadvantage. There is no point in India having 20 people in the Forbes 100 if our poor people. So Modi Saab felt that demonetization will level this and bring more prosperity. So there is, I feel 85 to 90% of the people are feeling demonetization is a good step. And frankly, I have not heard any opposition party give some good alternative for this. They're keeping on saying it was badly managed, etc.
Right.
So that point I want to emphasize. Please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
But what about the deaths? It's a necessity.
Okay. Now, let me put it this way. If through my demonetization, I have prevented stone pelting totally to stop in Jammu and Kashmir, if through my demonetization 99% of girl students are able to attend the exam in Jammu and Kashmir, if through my demonetization the Maoists are on the run in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand.
But how are girls giving exams in Kashmir because of demonetization?
Because we have stopped the fund flow. We have stopped the forged currencies.
The militants.
The militants.
Okay.
There is anecdotal evidence that Pakistan was
so,
sending.
So
please look at the bigger picture. I'm sure the government is very unhappy, maybe probably announcing in the court for Saab to say that we are giving this monetary compensation. Not that a monetary compensation is going to compensate for a death. It's a human issue, but let's not confuse a particular human issue with a bigger national debate on demonetization. That's my request.
If the larger good goal or the larger good is stopping militancy in Kashmir alone, for that demonetization was not necessary. The Home Ministry should have been able to tackle with that. If the larger goal is tackling Maoist insurgency in certain states, this is not the way that can be done. Just because of a few Maoist pocket and trouble in Kashmir, you do not put the whole country into problem. I do not see one single economic benefit coming out of this. Prices of everything is falling. Gold has fallen. And I was just seeing a note that they are saying that gold sales have fallen by 75%. You know, this is the harvest season and farmers do not have money to buy fertilizers. seeds, insecticides or other farm requirements. Everybody has talked about the marriages. They have only allowed 2.5 lakhs for marriages, that too under stringent conditions. People in whose families marriages are being held are being put to terrible difficulty. But more than that, it is the economic consequence. One is that you have seen how the share markets have fallen. All the gains in 2016 have been wiped out in the share market when the Sensex fell below 26,000. The other thing is that there is every possibility that the GDP of India will fall by at least 1% because all transactions are stopped. People have reduced buying. Consumption is going down. And as a result of which there are no trade transactions, so there is no question of GDP rising. GDP will receive a hit. Now, nobody has been able to explain to me, excepting vague things, that this is to control black money, that how much black money will be controlled, whether the source of black money has been plugged. This is a harebrained scheme, this is a mad scheme that the government has undertaken. They have created a financial emergency in a peaceful situation, upsetting the whole nation.